All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. From wherever you're joining, we back by popular demand, we have Manny who runs community at Replit. Hey Manny, we're excited to have you.
Hey, Vinu, good to be back.
Right, in 2 weeks only. This is probably the fastest ever. Like you are on super high demand, my friend.
Oh, no, I think it's such a hot topic. And again, we talked about this in part one, but I'm a former data scientist. So I've struggled with, having to learn SQL, Python, and this idea of like building data analytics, but then like trying to like get it in front of people and not having the right skill set to do that. And so now that I'm here with Replit and I have all these great tools and I'm building these great applications, I'm just so excited to be sharing that with everybody.
I know a recovering data scientist who is very excited about vibe coding and helping the lives of other data scientists. That's fantastic. Now, tell us a little bit about vibe coding. What is vibe coding? Why should I be excited about it before we dive right in?
Totally. The idea behind vibe coding is that you're allowing AI to help you build and write software for you. And so, from a data science perspective, you might think of like, oh, I have to learn how to write Python, or I have to learn how to write SQL, or I have to learn how to set up a web application. Well, with vibe coding, you can have AI write that for you, and you communicate with AI using natural language, and you guide AI in terms of what you want to build rather than having to write the code yourself. And what it's allowing you to do is to do so many more things than you were able to do before. And I had this made this post earlier today on LinkedIn and on X around AI collapsing a lot of roles into one. So I think previously I would have had maybe like a team of a data scientist, a data engineer, a database administrator, a front end person, a designer, a UI UX person. Now I can do all of that with by myself with tools like Replit and tapping data from Snowflake. And so that's the big promise of vibe coding is that it just helps you do more as an individual, and then also it helps teams do more as well because you could just move faster and build things that you weren't otherwise able to build.
Right. Firstly, you're able to get all the skills that you probably didn't have yourself. Like I'm a data scientist. I am no expert in building a pretty looking web application or a data application, right? But now with Replit and Snowflake, I'm able to do that, and not even in days or weeks, in hours and minutes. That's like I don't know, mind blowing. If this is not mind blowing, I don't know what else is, right? For a data scientist.
100%. And for me, so if I go back to my data science days, I used to spend a lot of time building out models, right? So, like, hey, this is going to fail, this is not going to fail. And then I'd take it to the client and I'd show the client an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook. And the client's like, what is this? Like, where's the value here? And what I realized is that I needed to put those analytics, those data science models in UI in an application that made sense for that client's workflow. And I couldn't do that because that like a front end development skill set, it takes years. It used to take years to develop all of that skill, and to do that, it's completely different from what you would have to do from a data science perspective. And so I just think that now it just allows you to go from start to finish, from like idea to full fledged application, to getting users and to putting things in front of people much faster than ever before, and it's super empowering.
Yep. And I also know the last week's episode when you joined us, you showed how to build a data application with Replit and Snowflake, and you have something more for folks who are watching. In Manny's own words, he has something really wild to show us all. Like that's gonna blow all of our minds away. And I don't know what's coming either. So it's just like one big suspense waiting for us. So let's get right to it, Manny.
All right, let's talk about it. All right, so the stage has been set. So I'd like everybody to tell me if this is something cool. I was working on this last night for a demo for today, and I was really excited about this. But first, let's talk a little bit about what we're working with. So all of your data is in Snowflake, and Snowflake is great for managing like tons of data, managing permissions. It also has a compute engine, so it's just really helpful to send tasks to Snowflake and get that back. But you want to present that in an interesting way. So if you're a data analyst, you want to put together reports. If you are supporting a team, you might want to put together data apps. if you're managing a group, you might want automation. So if something happens, you want to get alerted. And to build that is pretty tough. That's more software development than it is data analytics. And so Replit allows you to build that using data from Snowflake with the new connector. Now, to set this up, there is a little bit of work up front that you have to do from an admin perspective. So an admin person on Snowflake has to set up the permissions and set up the authentication. Similarly, an admin person on Replit has to do that as well. Pretty detailed stuff, but no worries because we have a developer guide that we're going to send out after this show. And if you haven't already, make sure you head over to our event page and sign up for this event, and then you're going to get the follow-up email with a link to this recording, a link to the part 1 that happened 2 weeks ago, and also a link to all the resources, including this developer guide. So last week, what we did is we did kind of like a basic demo, and we vibe coded a dashboard in real time, like in like 40 minutes, based on data coming in from Snowflake. And that's cool. Like, dashboards are interesting, visuals are interesting, but I think that's just the very tip of the iceberg of what you can do with vibe coding. So today I thought we'd take it a little bit further, and we're going to start off with something similar to this, but just to kind of set the stage. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go in here to Replit, and I'm going to drop in a prompt. So let me grab that and let me put this in here. And what I'm asking for Replit to do is to build a sales dashboard that has daily tracking that's looking at revenue for the last 60 days. And as you can see here, it's just very plain and very straightforward. Like, I'm not putting anything too fancy here. I'm not putting any SQL code or anything. I'm just saying, like, hey, like, I want you to build this for me in a way that I would task a data analyst or a data scientist to build this out, right? And the key step that you want to be mindful of here is that you want to make sure you activate our new Snowflake connector. So I do that by doing a slash command. So it's slash, and then I'll type in Snowflake, and I'll make sure that's dropped in there. And this is just telling Replit that, hey, I want to use the Snowflake connector. And I am just going to start that build. And we'll let this cook for a little bit. Once Replit agent gets that request, you're going to be brought into your building environment here. On the left-hand side, this is your conversation with Replit agent. Think of agent as your helper throughout this entire process. You can start off different conversations with agent. You can toggle different types of settings for agent. So if you want to let agent go on for an extended period of time. So sometimes, like, I'll put in a prompt and I'll hit max, and I'll come back after lunch and my build will be ready. I'm just telling agent, like, cook as long as you want, take your time. I'm going to be back like after a while. I'll review your work later. If I'm in a little bit more of a hurry, I might do medium, or I might go to fast mode to get something really quick. And this is pretty handy if they're like small changes that I want to make. But you'll notice that agent takes this request and immediately starts doing a couple of things. It's starting to configure our application. It's starting to put together the files and the structure for this application. And if you notice, I went here to the top right hand side and I clicked on toggle files. And this is where all of your data, and rather not all of your files, are going to live. You don't have to go into this. If you're not technical, that's fine. But if you're more technical, you want to see what's going on under the hood, this is a place where you can go and grab that. And the cool thing is that agent is writing all of this, but this is all your code. You can put it on GitHub. You can download it. You can run it locally if you want. This all belongs to you. And so what you're seeing here on the left-hand side is agent kind of cooking on this task. It's going to start thinking about what's in this database. It's going to start thinking about what it needs to pull. And then it's going to ask me to initiate this particular build. This will take roughly, I'd say, 10 minutes or so. And so we can let this cook for a little while, but I wanted to show you what you'll get after this, something that I did last night. So after agent cooks for, say, like 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to get something like this. This is our sales dashboard with some nice little modals here and a nice little chart that is interactive, and the styling is overall pretty neat. And the key thing here is that this is now plugged into my sales Snowflake database. So if I click refresh here, it'll automatically pull data from Snowflake. So the way to test this out, if I go to my Snowflake instance, and let me make this a little bit bigger, I'm just going to I'm just going to add a record here into this database that I'm leveraging. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. Then I'm going to come back to my build, hit refresh, and you should see a spike here in this line. I think I put like 120 on there. So let's hit refresh, and then boom, there it is. Isn't that so cool? Like, this application is pulling data from Snowflake in real time. Now, I have a refresh button here. That's just for demo purposes. But what I would imagine you would do is you would have you would ask agent to refresh this data every 15 minutes or so. So every 15 minutes, it'll go back to the database. Just make sure that it has the most recent data and it's up to date. But and then also, like, if I go back here and I delete this, if I find that, let me remove that, and then go back to our build. Let's refresh that, and that should go away. Awesome. Very neat. So let's go back here to this initial build, and you can see that Replit is still putting this together, but no worries. So that's our first step. So, like, really quickly, right out of the gate, in 15 minutes, you get something like this that is pretty nice to look at and very customizable. So I have here like the number of daily orders. I have here the daily revenue. Okay, so but I think that's table stakes. Like, I think I showed you that last week. Now I want to show you something a little bit more interesting. But you got a question?
Yes. Is there a way I can also set the frequency of this update? I know it was almost instantaneous. You just like went and inserted a record and it's reflected in the dashboard. But is there a way I could just set like maybe 5 minutes? Maybe you don't need to do this every minute, every second.
100%. That's all customizable. So you can say like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes. And so yeah, you can customize that however you like.
Awesome.
Yeah, very neat. All right, so I think that's like, okay, table stakes. We got a nice, interesting dashboard. I think the styling on this looks like really cool. And if you notice from the prompt, what I did is I just gave it very minimal direction. I said, like, give me a dark theme, slick design that with the finance terminal. And then here's like the actual build that just came through. And look how neat this looks. This is beautiful here. Like, as a non-design person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can build this. This is so cool. And so that's what that's so impressive about AI is, like, you just kind of give it like a high level direction. Like, I want this to look in this particular fashion, this kind of style. And agent knows how to interpret that and give you something back that's kind of really neat to look at. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is I want to show you how to make changes to something like this. So this is a good jumping off point, but I think you can do more interesting things. So, like, we can go here and say, like, okay, like, I start a new conversation, as I like to do when I have a new feature that I'm building. Now let's do two things. Let's, one, make this chart a little bit more interesting, where we're going to add some forecasting. So I want to look ahead and say, like, in the next 15 days or so, what do you predict? And then you can see this here. And then I also want to add a little bit more functionality here, so that when I click on the daily orders, one of these bars, I get more detail that pops up. And so I would imagine, like, I send this to my team or my manager, and my manager has a question like, oh, we got a spike here on July 11th. Let me double click on that and let me get some more information. So let's go ahead and drop those in. For this, I'm going to toggle the setting to around medium, which I think is kind of a medium type of task. And let me drop that in there. And now Replit is going to go to work on that. And again, notice I'm not dropping any SQL queries or anything like that. I'm just telling agent what I want at a high level, and it's figuring out what SQL queries it has to send over to Snowflake, how to build that into my UI, into my application, and I'm just kind of directing it. And I think this is one of the fundamental changes when it comes to vibe coding. It almost seems like we're all becoming managers of technical people. This is something, this is kind of a way that my manager used to speak to me back when I was a data scientist. It would say, hey, Manny, here's what I need. I need a daily revenue line. Give me a forecast. and like also give me more details on our top customers. And I would go out and build that. And so now I'm the manager. I'm the manager of agents. I'm telling like Replit agent, like, okay, I need this data. I need you to change this UI. I need you to make it in this kind of fashion. And think of like having like a team that's like a UX designer, a database engineer, a data scientist, and I'm kind of directing agent to do all those tests, which is pretty wild. So this will cook for a little bit. Again, this will run roughly 5 or 10 minutes, but let me show you what this output looks like. And so here is the change. Actually, I just saw it. I heard it in my ear that it came through. But here's what it'll look like. So here I have my forecast here. That's pretty nice. And I can change this if I wanted to have like a different type of forecast. If and again, here's where like if you're technical, you can do something more like if this is probably a linear regression, but if you want a REMA, if you want some seasonality in here, you can talk to agent about that and direct agent on doing that. If you have some sense of what that is, you can have a conversation with agent and talk about this. So you might say something like, hey, agent, I'm wondering if there are different types of forecasting methods that I might introduce here. Can you run me through that? Like I've heard about like seasonality, forecasting, rolling averages, linear regression. What are the different options that I can use here? And we talked about this last week around using agent not just to build, but to also educate yourself and level yourself up. So if I'm, maybe not so technical, but I've heard these different terms data scientists have used like around seasonality, et cetera, I can have a conversation with agent. I can have agent educate me on this and get me up to speed, and we'll give agent a moment to kind of come back and talk to us about that. In the meantime, I also you notice that had a second request. I wanted more detail on this chart. I want to be able to double click it. And so now when I double click it, now I have all of this rich data and information here for this particular day. And check this out. This is just so nice, so
Wow.
rich. It's really nice to look at. You got some graphics. If you want to change these graphics, just tell agent to change it. If you want to have like maybe agent put together a quick report on this, a PDF for you to download, you can have agent build out that functionality. I think you just get so many different ideas that come to mind. Like how could I best serve the people that that are on my team or my manager? Like what are they gonna what would they need? What anticipating those asks and getting ahead of it and putting it in this application. So let's go back here again. I want to know more about forecasting. Boom, here's agent educated me on forecasting. It's telling me, hey, you have linear regression now, and here's our forecast linear regression. Best for if you want to consider moving average, exponential smoothing, seasonal decomposition, all this great stuff. And then you can say like, okay, agent, just go ahead and drop it in there. Actually, yeah, like this data needs some seasonality adjustment. It doesn't look like it right here. Like as a former data scientist, I wouldn't drop it in here. But if it was really seasonal, I say like, yeah, go ahead and drop it in, and agent will build that into my forecast here. Like, how amazing is that? That's so cool. So there's a couple other things that I want to share with everybody. But maybe there's some questions that we want to take that have come through the chat.
Yeah, there are some questions. It's mostly about how do I work with multiple chats on the same application, and how does it really deal with the conflicts in there? Say if I do open a new chat and sort of work through my multiple requests in parallel, but then there's just like one app that I'm working on.
Great question. So right now, what I would advise is you do one chat per feature. So so here, like I have this chat that's going on. This is on forecasting. If I wanted to add, let's say, a new segment here, I would open up a new chat here and have that conversation with agent and work through that new feature. I think this works for a couple of reasons. Number one is that agent isn't always going to get everything right out of the gate. And so you still do have to review the work from agent. So like it might like initially when it generated this chart, some of the line was off a little bit. Like even here, I can tell you, like, for example, like if you notice it's not giving me that purple dot on the bottom of the uncertainty range. And so I would call out agent and say like, "Hey, can you fix that?" And that would be like a really quick fix. And so you want to stay on one conversation per feature until agent has it right for you, and then you want to move on to the next feature. And I think just because that's where we are with vibe coding and AI right now, it's not perfect. I think in the future it'll move to a multitask, multi-agent type of situation where you'll have like 5 things that you want in your application, and you'll have 5 agents go out and complete it in parallel, do the work, and then come back to you and say, "Hey, Manny, like here's what we did for the chart. Here's what we did for alerting. Here's what we did for reporting. We everything's merged. Everything's fine. Check it out." But for now, my recommendation is one chat per feature, and you can start that new chat here on the upper left-hand side.
Awesome. And I think something to do with the publishing, is it possible to auto republish if you changed anything with the app, or do I have to publish it every time I made changes to the app?
This is one of the beauties of Replit. So we give you a development environment and we give you a production environment. And so right now I'm in the development environment. You can see that here because it's private dev URL. I can share
Mhm.
this URL with folks and you guys could log on there. But if to publish this properly, I would go to publishing here, and there have options here. Let me do that again for everybody. So that's the console. If you want to go in the console again, if you want to check out all the code, you can do that, or not. But yeah, I go here to publishing, and then here, like once I'm happy with this, I will give it a URL name, and then I'll publish it. The great thing about Replit is that it allows you to do this all in one place. So you can develop your application and publish it. And if you want to share this with just people on your team, so you can do that. If you want to put a password on this, you can do that. If you want to share this with the world, you can do that. And you can even purchase your own domain on here as well and list it on a domain that you have. So publishing is super easy. And then once you publish it, you'll get an option to come back here and republish it. So like the if I'm happy with this, I publish this. That's the version that the world is going to see. And
Mhm.
but I can always come back here to preview, make changes, and do some things, and then I'm happy with it, and then I can republish it, and that'll be the new app that's out there connected to that URL. So makes it super easy to make changes once you have something out there in the world to come back, work with agent on a new feature. You're happy with it, boom, you republish it. Now that's where everybody's getting directed towards.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. And there are some questions about the connector itself. From Snowflake's end, is there a specific narrow list of databases that I can provide access to Replit, or like how does the connector work in terms of granting access?
Yeah, so that's on the Snowflake admin side. So whatever databases you have access to that's connected to your Snowflake account, Replit will be able to see those and pull those into different applications. Um, I'm sure there's a way to block access to certain databases on the Snowflake admin side, but that would be a permissions thing you would
Mhm.
do on the Snowflake side. But what Replit is doing is it's using that connector. You're authenticating through your Snowflake account, and then it's able to see the different data sets and different databases you have access to, and then it's able to query those and bring those into your application.
Yeah, I think on Snowflake side, Snowflake uses RBAC, role-based access control. So whatever roles as a user you have access to, you will be able to use those data to build whatever you want with Replit on the Replit's end. And there is another question about how does it deal with when the data is messy and the fields are not clear? Like, do we supply it with the data dictionary, or will it actually ask me questions back when it is not clear and when there is like confusing, metrics and definitions out there?
Absolutely. So this is kind of the special thing of where AI is right now. It's not kind of your dummy eye that you maybe had a couple years back, where it was very brittle and it would break on simple tasks. What agent is doing, it's trying to carry out the task that I've directed to. I want an application that shows me the sales data and I have a forecast. That's its goal. And if it goes to Snowflake, pulls in the data, does either the data doesn't come through, or the schema's all screwed up, or the data's corrupted, and it's not able to accomplish its goal, it's gonna go through a series of different troubleshooting steps. It's gonna say like, oh, like maybe like I didn't figure out the schema, for example. So if we go back to this build, and what I love about this, I love to see like what agent is doing like for me. And you can go into this tech tags and you can see like, oh, I'm executing this query. Now I'm going to try to update the UI. Now I'm going to try to restart the application. So like it edits the files, and then it'll restart the application, and it'll see if the application runs. It'll take a screenshot of the application, and if the data is not there, then it'll say like, oh, there's a problem, and it'll try to troubleshoot it. And if it gets stuck, it'll come back to you and say like, hey, Manny, like I couldn't like get this data for some reason. It seems like the data is kind of corrupted. Can you give me a little bit more direction? Or it's going to like walk you through what you have to do. And this is super helpful because like as I was setting up this demo last night, like I was figuring out the whole permissions thing on Snowflake side, and I'm a little bit newer to that, being an admin on Snowflake side. But I was just an agent here, and I had agent coaching me through that whole process. Like, oh, you have to go here, you have to set up this permission, you have to grant this access to this scheme on this table, and I had agent coach me on that. So yeah, agent like super smart, like it's goal oriented. It wants to give you this type of output, and if it gets tripped up, it will troubleshoot. And if it still can't figure it out, it'll come back to you for more direction.
Fantastic. And I think one thing I want to add here is you can also like include it in the prompt that, hey, if you have ambiguous fields, ask me to use which database, which schema, which table, and whatnot. So you could sort of make sure in a human in a loop way that it is using the right data and tables for you.
Right. Yes. All right. So I'd love to show you another feature. So like, I think there's a bunch of questions. Keep those questions coming. One thing that Vino and I have been talking about is like, you got great suggestions here in the chat, great questions. And a lot of features like being able to write to databases, or being able to bring in semantic understanding, or the semantic layer from Snowflake into Replit. That's all on the roadmap. And to the extent that we see interest in the chat on those different features, we'll either like move them up or move them off, move them out on the roadmap. So keep those questions coming and keep those features coming. What would you want to be able to do in Replit with Snowflake? Please continue to come in. But as you're doing that, I want to show you something else that I think is pretty cool. So I think up until now, we've still been kind of in the data analytics type of world. I'm showing kind of like interesting kind of visuals, and there's a lot to do here. But the beauty of this is that this is essentially software. We're essentially building a web application, and you can do so much more with an web application than you could do with just a visual or database application. And so here, I'm here, I started a new conversation, and now what I'm going to ask agent to do is to build out an alerting system. So when a day goes above a particular level, I want to be able to get an alert. So I want there to be like a Slack notification that I see. And so now you're getting into the world of reactivity. So something happens in my data. I want to know as soon as that happens, either levels go too high or levels go too low. Do something. Either go alert someone, send me an email, or post a Slack notification. And this is what's so cool about this, is that Replit agent is able to handle all of that, build out that entire system, walk me through setting up the implementation on the Slack side, and allow me to do that. So that's going to cook. It's going to take roughly 10 minutes or so. This is what I did last night. So now I have my new alerting system. So I have alerts here that I've created, which is like, hey, when something exceeds 125 million, a day exceeds 125 million in revenue, I want you to post a Slack notification to my channel. So let's test this out, real-time testing here. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to input this, and this should be 170 million. I think that's right. So let's go ahead and run that. And I'm back here, and haven't refreshed it, so it hasn't come through. And then in my Slack, I you'll see like a test one here from 11:48 today. So let's go ahead and run this and let's see what we get. So I should see a nice little pop, cool, and then I should see a nice little alert, and there it is. Isn't that so nice? That just came in at 12:30, folks. So you saw that happen in real time. I changed the data on the Snowflake side. My app refreshed the data here, and immediately I got an alert in Slack here that, hey, daily revenue today is 170 million. Woo woo! Like you might even do like an animation here, like yeah, we got like 170 million here. I got the revenue alert here, and then you can envision doing other things here. So you can envision like putting a link to the day or that day's report and saying like, hey, we exceeded 170 million, and here are the big orders that really came through to make that happen. Or you can even envision having more data piped into this alert saying like, here are all the different orders. You can do a lot of different things here. You can be very interactive here. But I just think that is so cool. The fact now I have an application that allows me to have custom alerts. And the cool thing here is that Agent built this whole UI layer for me. I didn't even ask it to do this. Isn't this crazy? Like again, I think we're underappreciating the intelligence here. There's a certain level of proactivity that's happening here because I just asked it like, hey, I want to be able to create an alert in Slack, and Agent's like, oh well, you're probably gonna want a way to control those alerts. So let me go ahead and proactively build out this UI for you to do that, so that turn this off. Oh, okay, got it. So I got to fix. That's a bug. I gotta fix. So that's a good example. Or you can create a new alert here. So I can say like, panic. Revenue drops below, like let's say 80 million. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Create that alert. See, I got a bug here. So I'll screenshot this and fix it. But create this alert. So now I have an alert so that when it goes below, I get notified as well. I just think this is so cool.
No, I think it is cool because most of the times as data people, it's not just about creating the dashboards or the reports, but it's really like troubleshooting, like what's going on, right? Like if something is good or bad, like double click, what's happening? What does this mean? Root causes, like involve the right teams, people and whatnot. So these are like super useful tools to sort of build on top of. And it's very exciting to see how easily you can build these systems to help you.
Right. And the other concept that I was toying around with is like, what if you click onto one of these days and you wanted to automatically put together a report on this day? You could just have a button and it could ship it. It could email it to someone. It could, send it to someone. You could also start thinking about building out workflows here and processes here. So imagine like having like a pretty low day or something, and then you want to create a task for someone. So like, hey, we saw a drop in orders. Let me create a task for Jenny on sales to look up to look into this and follow up. And now you have kind of like a project management part to your application as well. So again, like I think once you know you can do all of this, like I think your mind will just start racing with ideas in terms of what you can do. And the beauty of this is that this is all custom, specific to your organization and your workflow. If you want to build like different alerting systems, if you want email, if you want text messages, you can build that in. If you want to build out a project management system in a particular way with your team, you can all do that. And again, it's just you and Replit Agent doing that, pulling your data in from Snowflake.
This is fantastic. Can I also see the code that it generates and then go make edits directly if I want to?
Totally. Yes, absolutely. So first, if you want to see any of the code, you can click here on the upper right-hand side. We have toggle files, and this brings up all of the code. So client side, server side. Yeah, it's all here. You can see here is the API for Snowflake and different components. And then on the client side, you'll see source. Yeah, you'll see all the front end kind of stuff. So you could totally do that. And then if you have a question about a particular build, you can always go here into actions and you can see what was edited. And you can see like, oh, it alerted the alert TypeScript file. And so I can see here exactly what it changed. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, like even if, so I think we've been talking a lot about the non-technical people in terms of how to get started with vibe coding. And for non-technical people, it's like I hear it every single day how much it's changed their lives. But I think even for technical people, if you've done this before, if you know how to do this, it's just so much easier for you to put in a prompt into agent, have it build it at least the first pass, and then you come back and you can review the work. Or if you want to make changes directly to the code, again, you can do that right here as well. It's, if you're a professional, I think in some ways you have an advantage because you know how to direct agent, you know what to ask for, you know how to spot issues, and you just get to go so much faster, and you get to broaden your responsibilities. So now not only are you a data person, but you're a front end person, you're a prototyping person. You just expand what you can do.
Mm-hmm. And I think I also want to call out the checkpoints feature because at any point, if you want to go back to the previous version of it, you can always go back and, like almost literally like version control.
It's like a control Z, I think, like I gotta be honest. Over the last month, I haven't used checkpoints in any of my Replit agent builds, and it's kind of spooking me a little bit. It's getting so good that it's like like it's doing everything like one time. Like I do have to correct some things, but like man, like I'm not reverting back to a previous change, and I used to do that like quite a bit, maybe a month ago. And so
Mhm.
it's just these are getting so much. They're getting better and better. But yes, if you want to, if you don't like something that agent did, just go to this checkpoint, and it'll tell you like roll back here. It could even give you a preview and say like,
Mhm.
hey, like here's what you had at this point in time. Do you want to go back to this? And it'll even allow you to interact with the application the way that it was at that point in time, so that you can make sure you want to go back to that. So just really making it super easy for folks to do this. And previously, this was all done with Git and Git commits and all that, and merge changes and blah. Like you don't want to go through all that. Now, again, you can put your data on GitHub if you want, but I think this is just so much easier for so many people, even if you're an experienced technical person.
Absolutely. I think there are a few questions about like what exactly is Snowflake and if Replit works with other connectors on other databases very similar to Snowflake. I want to maybe take a minute to say, firstly, Snowflake is a data and AI platform, which means you can use Snowflake to do data preparation, engineering, transformation, curation, wrangling, like think anything data prep or data processing. And you can also do data science, modeling, AI, and whatnot. It's an end-to-end data and AI platform. In this example, as you can see, Replit has connected to Snowflake as the data source, and we're using the data from Snowflake to build all of these, dashboards and applications that we're building. But talking about the Replit connector for other data sources, there is a list of data sources that Replit does support. And Manny, do you want to go over a few of them?
Yeah, so we have a number of data warehouse connectors. So if you have your data in one of these warehouses, like Snowflake, you'll be able to connect into that data. And for me, what's special about applications like Snowflake is that they allow you to store a tremendous amount of data. So as I mentioned previously, if you wanted to stand up a database, you can do that natively within Replit. And this is one of the cool things about Replit. Um, Otherwise, you'd have to go elsewhere and spin up that database and set it up. And setting up a SQL database is very painful. It's one of the things that I hated the most to do when I was doing data science kind of work. But now Agent will do this and it'll manage it natively. But if you notice, um, there's only a certain level that I can have here because it's SQL, and there's a sort of a level. There's a limit at which the data that I can hold in my Replit database, and also there's a limit in terms of how fast I can pull that data. So if you noticed here in this application, this is almost happening in real time. We're querying like almost like a million rows for this data to come through. How are we doing that? Well, one, all of this data sits in Snowflake. So I think I asked Agent to help me. Where is he? Did I move over here? Ah,
Uh-huh.
here we go. So I asked Snowflake to tell me like how much data I had here, and this is demo data. I had like 1.5 million rows here. So to go through all that data in real time is actually pretty tough. And the nice thing about Snowflake is that one, you can park all that data there, and it gives you a nice way to interact with that. at the catalog here. But the other important thing here is that I'm sending all of my requests to Snowflake. So Snowflake has the data, but it also has a compute engine. So agent knows that. It'll send the request to Snowflake and say, hey, we need this information. Give me the information and send it back. And so my app doesn't have to handle that compute. And it happens almost in near real time. And so those are the instances when you want to use Snowflake. And for many enterprises, they'll park their data in a place like Snowflake to have all of that data there at once and also accessible to everyone. And also the controls part, as you mentioned, Vino, like here, like Snowflake has a very sophisticated way to control like who's seeing what data, who has access to what. And so if you're an organization, like you want all of that. Now the great thing is you have that data on Snowflake, but now you can also pull that data into Replit to build these amazing applications.
Fantastic. I know you had something else to show. Do you think we have time? Or
we got to have time for this. So this is one of my favorite ones. Okay, so check this out. So now we talked about, okay, so this was cool. We did the learning system. All right, learning system. Now, what if I wanted to start building like some more like layers of intelligence here? So earlier I talked about, you said like, hey, you can like put a report here and you can have like a summary on the report. You can generate AI. What if we added our own AI assistant to our own application? So check this out. If I go here and I drop in this prompt, and I say like, hey, add an AI assistant to this app. I want people to be able to chat with it, ask their questions in plain English, and have the assistant answer those by querying the Snowflake data. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in, and agent is going to go ahead and build that out. All right. So sorry, I heard something in my ear here. And so now agent is building that out. Now you could, if you wanted to get a preview of this, you can go into plan mode here and ask agent to give you a plan. For this instance, I'm just kind of showing you what agent is doing, but agent's going to figure out how to do this. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull in a native integration that we have with OpenAI, and that allows you to pull in models from OpenAI without having to set up an OpenAI account. These are our AI integrations. And you can pull models from OpenAI, Anthropic, OpenRouter, and Google Gemini. Now, typically what you'd have to do, you have to go set up an account for each one of those providers, get the API key, and you can see here, I'm approving it. Yeah, perfect. I have to go to those different providers, get the API keys, and put them into my secrets pane here, which is also a really cool feature of Replit. You can just drop your secrets in here. They're safe right there. And then I have to manage 5 accounts. Well, with AI integrations, we automatically get those secrets for you, and we pipe it directly into the application, and we just pass the bill for whatever AI you use directly to your Replit account. So you can use models from those 4 different providers, all the different models from text generation, image generation, and now audio models. Have that AI in your application, and it's all all being built to you through Replit. There's no upcharge on that. Whatever the listing is for that model by that model provider, that's what you're going to pay on the Replit side. So it's just super convenient for folks to get going with this type of intelligence. So now I can do something like this where I build out an AI assistant here in my application. So this is the AI assistant here. I built this out last night. And so now this is the application. Okay, now, my manager has some questions about this data. So I go into AI assistant, and you have like some different options. You can say like, hey, what was our highest revenue in 1998? And this is the data here is I'm using a sample data set here from Snowflake, and the data goes up to 1998. So just kind of dropping that in there. And so here you are, like, okay, the highest revenue was August 2nd. I just put that in actually. that's the entry that I just put in. But here's the amount. And then here you can also get the SQL query that this assistant use to generate this answer. Isn't this wild? So like I used Replit agent to build out an AI data assistant in my application that now users of my application can use. How wild is that? So as I mentioned, publishing is super easy. I'm going to make this public here, and I'm going to say Snowflake cool demo. Drop that in there. I'm going to make this public, and I'm going to hit on publish. And agent is doing great. Thank you very much. And so here you'll see Replit publish this. This will take maybe like 3 minutes, but it's going to do a security scan because we care deeply about security. We should probably talk about that when it come back, how much work we put on into security, and it's going to build this out. But just going back here, like now, like I'm going to be able to share this with all of you so you can ask questions of that data set. So I just think this is so cool. The fact that now I'm adding AI to my application. Now think of all the different things that you can do with AI now. Like you can so I see the formatting a little bit off here. Think about like all the things you can do with AI. Like again, you can have AI generate reports for you. You can have it read through different days. You can build an AI assistant here. You can add like an audio component here where you can actually talk to this assistant and have it come back to you. I just think this is wild.
This is, I know you published it, and when you publish it, it's published by Replit, and I don't have to work with another hosting platform or anything else, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes. It's published on Replit, hosted on Replit. You don't have to worry about that. And you can even link your own domain to it. Yes.
Awesome. And I know there are so many questions about, like how do I maintain this? And like the dashboards would have a simple metric, or even the questions to the assistant that we were asking were simple questions. One thing in terms of expectation setting, I want to tell this audience is these are the examples or the possibilities of what you can do with it, right? And like go crazy with it. There's no limit to your imagination. Like we don't know what your specific use case is, what you're spending a lot of repetitive cycles on that you want to cut down, and where you want to use this agent. Think hard about your specific domain, industry, team, company, and what are you dealing with on a daily basis that can be automated and that can be handled by this agent, and you don't need to spend your mental cycles on it. And these are fantastic examples for you to get started. Like start thinking about like what can I do with it, and what can I do to make my business users life easy as a data person. And there is a few more questions, but I know that we are also over time. Do you have anything else, Manny, that you wanted to add? We will link the developer guide on how to get started with vibe coding with Snowflake and Replit. I think we will share this in the comment. Please check that out. And if you do sign up to that Luma event, you will also get it as part of your email. And yeah, that's it. One more thing. Tell me in the comments, what exactly is your job title? Like, what do you do? Are you a data engineer, data scientist, data analyst? And how do you think you would use Replit and Snowflake? Let us know in the comments, and we will build more exciting demos relevant to what you're doing and maybe bring them back on in another episode.
Yeah, I'd say if you want the recording resources, sign up for our event. There should be a link to it, and you'll get a follow-up email with that. And I'm just trying to show you different examples and show you what's possible. For you, like a much simpler app is probably going to change the game for you. Like there's like maybe like a task that you have to do every week that just drives you nuts, and it's like a bunch of like different tedious things. Like you have to merge different types of CSV files, you have to create different graphics. Like that would be a great place to get started to help you think about how to vibe code. And I just want you to see what is possible so you can start having your imagination run wild. And after you get those first initial builds, I think you're going to be surprised at what you're going to end up building with these tools.
Mm-hmm. This is fantastic. I'm already seeing a lot of folks here: data engineer, web developer, programmer, data scientist, GTM engineer, supervisory accountant. This is fantastic. Keep this going and let us know what exactly will you need to use Replit and Snowflake for. We will pick some of these and build demos around it so it's more relevant for you, and come back to see us in the future episodes. All right. Thank you so much, Manny. This was super insightful and cool, very cool demos. AI for AI, I think Inception is it.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. No, thank you so much, Vinu. It was great. Looking forward to the next time.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and keep the comments going. We will pick some demos and build it so it's easy for you to follow along in the future sessions. All right. Thanks, everyone.